Excellent. Let me see here if you are entering. Ecoa PUC Rio, Brasil Energia Magazine, Bratec, Visão TV bring the topic Young People Facing a New Market with Larissa Nunes, Larissa Pencala, Helen Love, Caetano Andrade. Thank you by accepting this cafe. Good evening. And may I ask you to make a self-introduction, each one?
Yeah, of course. What is the order? Do we go?
You first, okay. Just.
Good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here with you again. Thank you so much, Cavanha, for having me one more time in your cafe. My name is Larissa. I am a petroleum engineer. I am from Brazil. I graduated 1 year and a half ago in the Universidade do Estado de Santa Catarina in the south of Brazil. And currently, I'm a master's student in Norway. I'm specializing in drilling technology. So currently, as everybody in the meeting today, I'm living in Stavanger in Norway.
Good, thank you. Larissa Pencala, maybe you know.
Yeah, thank you. I'm honored to be your guest here today. So it's my first time and I'm super excited. So yeah, I'm Larissa Pencala. Besides of the other members today, I'm actually living here. And I'm also a petroleum engineer, graduated my bachelor degree in 2018, and are now finishing my master degree when everything goes well, hopefully. And I'm very excited. Yeah, of course, also drilling specialization, and I'm very excited to starting entering this market.
Thank you. Welcome to the cafe. Helen, maybe you know.
Yeah. Hi. So thanks for the invitation. Also for me, the first time to be in this cafe. So thanks for that. I'm actually a geoscientist. I finished my master's degree last year, and now I'm working in Stavanger in the companies called Geomech, which is a company for consulting in geomechanics for subsurface injection.
Excellent, thank you. Caetano,
I have a bachelor from UF, Brazil, Rio de Janeiro. I'm in my second year now on my master's at UIS, University of Stavanger, specializing on well engineering. I am also in two student chapters, the SPE chapter and robotics, as my extracurricular activities. And now I'm graduating, writing my master thesis to finish my master.
Excellent. From Brazil, Caetano and Larissa Nunes only. Larissa Pencala is from Norway, and Helen is from Germany.
Yeah, right.
Perfect. Let me put the first questions for you to discuss and to open discuss, of course. Why do people change countries to study or even live in a different country? What's the reason? What are the reasons you have in your mind?
In my case, it was necessity. I graduated in Brazil in 2018, and we were just out of one crisis. And I'm from the south of Brazil, so I am kind of away from where the jobs are, that is Rio or the northeast of Brazil. So I had to think outside of the box. I checked my possibilities. I would have to move to Rio or to the northeast or try my luck abroad. So that's what I tried to do. So basically my main motivation to go abroad was the lack of employment in the end of my university. And then I started researching because even though I'm from Brazil and I wanted to stay in Brazil for a while, I wanted that at some point I would move to another country and have experience in other parts of the world. So I started researching, and I saw that if I wanted to work in Europe, I would probably have to have a master's degree. So I married these two things that I needed to have. That was the master degree and the lack of unemployment in Brazil. And then here I am trying my luck in a new country, in a new culture, in a new market.
Good. Larissa Pencalo, is not your case. Lack of employment in Norway probably is not the right thing. Oh?
It could be. We are actually facing really hard times now because of the corona pandemic. So it is actually not looking that bright. I have some friends that actually have lost their contracts. They have been given graduate trainee contracts, and they have unfortunately lost the contract. So
Yeah, and probably oil and gas in Norway is not so, let's see, hot at this time, no?
come again, please.
I mean, oil and gas sector in Norway is not so let's see, attractive at this time.
Both ends. It is just hard to enter it. Like us students from the university that don't really have a long work experience within oil and gas. But I think at a time it will be better, and there are already some companies that are facing brighter times now after these
Good. Excellent.
periods.
Yeah, great. Julian, what your situation, your case exactly? Which one?
Why to go abroad? Let's say for me personally, it was a more decision. It was during studies. I did 1 year of exchange in Stavanger, and it was more personal reason just to go somewhere else for some time. Of course, I mean, personally, I come from Berlin, and Berlin is not famous for geoscience, and Germany is not famous for the whole petroleum engineer itself. So let's say I saw if I want to grow in my career, I thought already of going somewhere else. And the studying abroad then brought me the opportunity. So that's why I came to Norway and found a job here. So yeah, let's say that was it was on purpose, but it was not so much concentrated on in an industrial way, let's say. And if I may note on the coronavirus situation in Norway, for me personally in our company, it's still going well, for the reason that we are more on the backbone. So, but let's say it could change still. So let's hope.
Yeah. Are you a geologist?
Officially, let's say I study geology, I study geoscience, but my position here is technical advisor, with a main concentration on geoscience, yes.
Okay. Caetano, please.
Well, I would say that my case, it's kind of a mix in between what Julian said and what Larissa said. I graduated in Brazil in 2017, and the market in Brazil related to oil and gas wasn't the best at the time. But at the same as Julian, I did an exchange here in Norway in 2014. So I knew that there was this possibility to go in abroad, and I already knew a little bit of the Norwegian culture and how life is here. So that reassured me to apply for a master's abroad. Actually, it was, I believe that at the time, it was the best thing that could happen to me, because now I'm facing new opportunities. And I know that this Corona crisis is it's a bump on the road, but I believe that the market is gonna get better and things are gonna fall into the right places.
So are you in the social distance rules in Norway? So you must keep isolated at this time?
Actually, life here in Norway, it's coming back to normal. You see things opening up again. You see people on the streets. Actually, nowadays, the last time I checked, the whole Norway had just 300 cases active people. Of course, Norway had I think close to 8,000 to 9,000 people that had the disease. But if you compare that number with the rest of the numbers in the world, Norway and Norwegians were able to control the pandemic in a really good way of saying.
Mm-hmm. May I ask for each one phrase? What's the perfect challenge you have when you move to a different country? One phrase only for each one, maybe?
One phrase to describe moving abroad.
Yeah, the
Well,
principle,
I would say for me, it's adapt, and adapt, because I believe that this is the main goal that I found here, is to adapt myself to new opportunities, to new challenges, to new situations. So if you want to move abroad, if you are moving abroad, you're gonna need to adapt. So for me, I would be this.
More in the personal issues than the professional issues.
I believe, like, if you are going abroad, you're gonna face personal challenges, you're gonna face professional challenges. So, and if you are able to adapt yourself in those situations, I believe that that you're gonna face the better side of things in the end.
Yeah, my sentence would be something similar to Caetano. I would say be open to learn, because this is something that I struggled a lot when I moved to Norway, because I'm a very talkative person and I am a people person. And here people, they have personal spaces and they are not that loud when they speak, when they communicate. So you have to be open to learn, even though this is how you are one inside the society. So you have to follow the rules, you have to understand how to behave. So you have to be open to learn behavior, to learn language, to learn how to dress. So that would be the sentence, adapt.
Maybe exactly the opposite of Julian, that in Germany they are very close, very constricted, no?
Yes, that is on the one side true. On the other hand, let's say Germans and Norwegians, I would say, are quite similar on that topic. Actually, we have, let's say, some very big similarities in how we behave, or like how we act, I would say. But it's many people would say we are behaving a little reserved, but it's not actually the case. It's just the first step to make. It's it takes some time. But yeah, if I note also my sentence on that point is, let's say, I would say first make the first step, keep being flexible and keep being open-minded. Let's say it takes some guts to go in another country. And when you're there, even though, as I said, Norwegians and Germans are quite similar, but there is also some big differences on the other hand. So you see also these small tiny things which you can't describe in a whole, and also then you meet other people from other countries. Most likely it's because they have the same feeling also. For instance, to be in a different country, know everybody, but also feel a little lonely sometimes in some situations, because it's still a different culture where you're living. Yeah.
Larissa Pencala, you wanted to?
Yeah, I can't really come up with a new phrase, because you have summarized things so well. So I can only add that, of course, opportunity, but also the interest to develop yourself on a personal and professional basis. So that's actually the only thing I can add to on all things both said.
Excellent. Let me see if someone is sending some questions here. Okay, let me go to the second point. It's very attractive for me. Let's say energy, oil and gas, supply chain are considered innovative professions, or they are old professions? And are they still attractive for students, or you prefer technologies and digital innovations, things like that? It's open for who wants to start.
I would like to break the ice here. We can maybe talk about a new generation here, because we are kind of also in our education, we get to learn new technologies very early at the start, and also having programming and automatization a part of our education. So I would say that it's more natural for us to go in that direction. So, but on the other hand, we are also learn to not only stay in our comfort zone, we should also look in the other way and maybe open our eyes for other things where we can apply the technology and automatization and adapt it to other systems.
You mentioned that you learn technologies from the beginning when we start studying in your country.
Yeah, like, so, okay, technology is maybe a wide range to mention, but like in some, in some classes, we have learned that old ways to do things are kind of updated. So we learn about the new technology that they implemented, like measured MPD, which I don't really remember the term of. Yeah, stuff like that, that we learned that for efficiency and stuff like that.
I understand. Larissa Nunes, please, oil and gas is a dirty industry.
Okay, let's go to my opinion. Well, I see a difference in the mentality in Norway and in Brazil. And as you said, as you saw in the last cafe that we had, I am a person that is really in love with the industry, with the petroleum industry. And I think if I analyze Brazil and Norway from what I have seen so far, in Brazil, you don't see energy transition and as something that is today and tomorrow, and you can forget petroleum tomorrow. You don't see that in Brazil right now. But in Norway, with everything that the people are talking.
Sarah Sanders, former White House press secretary and Fox News contributor. Good morning to you, Sarah.
Don't worry.
No problem. It wasn't me, I think. But here in Norway, we see that people are thinking of energy transition in the past years, and this is something that they are living already. I see, for example, for the lectures, as we are students, we are always going to lectures and events. In Brazil, usually the events are about technologies in petroleum and are about the oil industry, the conventional industry. And here in Norway, I would say like 60% of the events right now, they are about carbon capture storage, they're about hydrogen, they're about energy transition, offshore wind power. So you see that this energy transition is more nowadays subject here than in Brazil. So you see in the young people, this mentality too. So the younger generations, they are going more for renewables, more for these other sectors than petroleum, than the conventional one. And while that, since we have this conventional industry and conventional mentality in Brazil, I would say people are still more attached to petroleum in Brazil than here. But in my opinion, I think petroleum is going to be here for way more years to come. And innovation is part of this industry. Adding the younger generations, adding automatization, adding optimization. This is the future of the petroleum industry. And energy transition is also part of the future of the petroleum industry.
Okay, good. Caetano, the learning process in the university you are studying is more integrated, some different disciplines in the same time, as Larissa Benkala mentioned, something that the technologies are integrated.
I could point some differences from the way of teaching, way of learning here, if we compare to Brazil. Here, first point, I agree 100% with what Larissa Benkala said. Here we have access to new technology, new technology, such new technologies in the industry and new technologies, for example, for programming or for digitalization. So it's these two sides, on new technology on the core of the business of drilling, or in the programming of digital twin platform. So we have access to this, something that I did not have in my bachelor.
Very important point. Sorry to interrupt you. So the specific technologies for the core business and the generic technologies that are for every matter. Okay.
I would say that this is one of the main difference. Another difference that I see here is that here I felt that the relation between the professor and the student is more like a tutor. The professor is more like a tutor that helps the students on points that we have doubts. So sometimes it's a process of learning alone, and then you approach the professor with some doubts, and then you have like this help. Once in Brazil, we do not do like that. I believe that professors they explain more, and he's more like a tutoring. Is another style of studying, and I can see that's a little bit more efficient on this way. But I would say that these two points are the main differences between the education and the process of learning here and the process of learning in Brazil.
Good. Julian, please, in Germany, the training process is more formal than you're experimenting in Norway?
Let's say less oriented on the industry, actually, I would say. Much more theoretical, much more in a science way sometimes. Of course, it's likely for me personally because I did geoscience there and I did petroleum engineering courses in Stavanger. But generally, since the oil industry is not a big topic in Germany, it's most of the theories which are being taught, and less the contact to the industry is not there. Let's say what I've seen compared to Norway. And let's say I've experienced in Norway, this is much better because the new technologies which you learn, they they start in the companies itself. So mostly in some departments, and this idea comes up over the decades. And if you don't have the connection to the companies, to the industry, then this takes at least longer time. It's often lacking, but it takes longer time. So I would say on that point, of course, I'm living here, so that's why I have to say that, but Norway is doing a quite good approach on that in the studies. Definitely, because that's personally also why I came here, or what I've seen compared to Germany, that the lack of connection to the industry. And to note that also, it doesn't have to do only with the people in Germany who are not so much interested in that topic, but also that the companies don't see why they should sponsor more the universities in Germany for the studies. And one example for that, there's 4 famous universities, quite famous universities for studying in Germany, petroleum engineering or geoscience related. So the topic is more of a niche in Germany itself, you could say, for reasons.
Really, yeah, great. Larissa Pencala mentioned something in this.
Yeah, I would like to add that what the University of Stavanger has understood, and also because of the geographical situation, because Forus is a place really close where all the companies are having their base here in Stavanger. So the distance from the university to companies is not that far. So it is in that way also easier to maintain a good relationship to people in the company. And Stavanger, and as I have experienced personally, they often have projects, experimental tests or something in cooperation with oil and gas industries here in Norway, which establish a foundation for students to actually get a better understanding of the industry, to get networking, and to get this proper cooperation with people in the industry during projects they are working on or experiments.
Larissa Pencala, when you mentioned that companies in the industry is not so far to the university, you mentioned companies. There are several strong companies in Norway,
I'm sorry.
like for seismic, PGS, and several ones. And FPSOs, you make no one in the world is the best place to construct FPSOs. So they are close to the universities. You can see them speaking in the university.
From personal experience, we have had meetings with Equinor. Equinor is just close by. We have Halliburton, which is not far away. We have Schlumberger, which is right around the corner. We have Archer, and yeah, all those larger service companies, but also operative companies. And just for mention an example, when I was working in the lab and I was running out of barite, I needed more. So I just called the guy at Schlumberger and asked him, hi, is it okay if I can come by and pick it up? So I just went in the car, drove over, and then, you know, he had some time over, so we had a coffee and then we started to talk. So that's what I'm talking about, that you will have a person at the university that opens that door for you by a project or experiments, and then you're kind of on your own, getting to know the people in the companies yourself, and slowly something builds up.
Interesting. So they bring people close to the industry to of course, to capture this knowledge and this intelligence. Larissa Nunes, please, after this huge health crisis, how do you see the future for the oil and gas industry? I mean, including your opportunity for career and for the employed.
I believe it's kind of hard to predict what is going to happen right now, because we have to see how the world is going to react to this pandemic. Some countries are opening up, the barrel price is going up again, but we have a lot of oil in stock, so we have to see how the market is going to react with everything that is going on. But I believe we have demand. We will need energy in the future, and when things start happening again, I believe due to this pandemic, we're going to change some habits. But even though I believe it's not going to change that much in demand of energy, I believe people will want to travel even more when the frontiers open again. And I think you will need petroleum engineers, you will need engineers to work in the energy industry, because you will have to supply these demands in the long term. So I think in the short term, it's kind of hard to predict how the market's going to react. It's going to be a little bit, you have to have luck right now to get a position. And but when things start getting better and things start getting more stable than right now, I think we will have opportunities, because this is an industry that the world needs. The world needs energy. So the petroleum engineers and the engineers are here to provide it.
Yeah, there's no way to live without oil at this time for them. Julian, please, in Germany, you do not have sedimentary rocks. So you never go back to Germany to study geoscience.
Well, we have some, but of course on the let's say, to compare it with other countries, it's very narrow, yes. And especially the oil and gas, or especially the gas which we have in northern Germany, you have to, if you want to produce it, you must use fracking. And fracking is banned in Germany, unfortunately, as in most countries in the European Union, for strange reasons, personally. But no, I think Germany is not the #1 country I am personally emphasizing to go to. I think there's many more countries on the list on that topic. Yeah.
Which energies are most used in Germany?
That's an interesting question, because of course Germany wants to have the stamp on it that it's a very renewable, very clean country on that topic. Yes, we have a lot of renewables which we produce, but mostly or like a big part of our renewables we import, for instance, from Norway. But yeah, of course, let's say our energy market is quite diversified still, even though most of the energy is still being produced by coal. Nonetheless, Germany wants to pull out of the coal industry in 2038, which is, in my belief, too late when you look at how the coal market is being built. The biggest issue in Germany is that we import a lot of energy. We import lots of gas from, for instance, Russia, and also from Norway, and also the US, actually. We import coal, for instance, from Brazil, from South Africa, and even from Australia. And nonetheless, we want to call it a clean country, and that doesn't work. Because we have the CO2 footprint, we have the carbon footprint in the import as well. And which comes on top as we are overproducing our energy. So we export the energy back to other countries around, and it doesn't make sense at all on that point. So we really have to think back what we could do and what we actually could do in our country itself. I mean, we have lots of coal reserves still. So if we want to produce the coal, then at least use our own ones to reduce the carbon footprint, at least to some degree. Not to mention, of course, to increase renewable energies, and maybe also look again back to fracking, and not forget, actually, and I know many Germans don't want to hear that, but not to forget the nuclear energy, because that's actually still a good opportunity to, that's right, at least stepwise, to go further to increase the renewables.
Caetano, how do you see from Norway the industry in Brazil? Not only majors and oil companies, but the supply chain providers. How do you see? How from outside Brazil you can see this situation?
Well, I can. The industries in Brazil, for example, in the masters, we had some contact with some subsea equipment and subsea technology, and Petrobras was mentioned there with the technology that we have in Marlim. So the industry in Brazil, it's referenced in some aspects, and we have a good reference from Brazil that we can see here in the masters in Norway. I believe that Norway and Brazil. They both have different challenges on the oil industry, but they complement each other in a way, I would say.
And Larissa Nunes, when you be back in Brazil, I'm not sure that you are coming back to Brazil. Maybe you stay.
I'm not sure
Brazil.
either. Let's
not
see
sure.
what happens.
Who knows? Depends on coronavirus and the new market that you are facing. Yeah, but what kind of let's see, help, support, contribution you think that you can give to the country?
I think one of the things that I'm learning, and it's not only professionally, it's also personally here in Norway, it's self-organization and being good at planning, scheduling things, and having this type of organization in your life and your business. This is something that I'm learning here. And for sure, when I go back to Brazil, and if I go back to Brazil and I have a project there, I'm going to try to use these skills that I have learned here, in especially like this adapting skill that we are developing by living abroad. This is something that for sure, even in my country, I'm going to be different in a way, because now I read people differently. Now I have this other skill of relation. So I think it's not only technically, but as a person, you learn a lot by being in a different culture. And for sure, going back to, and I actually already do that. I talk to my friends all the time. I have learned to do this differently. What do you think about it? In the university, I see the classes are like that. The students study usually like that.
Okay.
What do you think about that? Do you think this is a good way that we could use for ourselves too?
It's
So
more
I think
related
I'm
to
already doing that.
experience. Yeah, the experience that's very strong. Yeah, personal experience. Let me open for you all talk at the same time and make a kind of conversation in a bar, drinking
Opa.
beer. Please feel free. Go ahead.
I would actually like to start with Julian. I would like to ask you, when did you come to Norway?
That was August 2017, the first time actually.
Okay.
And I was then here for 1 year. Then I was half a year back in Germany. So I came back last year in March. Yes. So
Okay.
a little more than a year again, I'm back here. Yes.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah.
I just would like to mention that I was very surprised about how much you knew about the energy supply in Germany, about the coal and stuff like that. I was actually quite impressed about that, because I'm originally from Germany as well, and I remember that something about the news that nuclear should that they should give it another try, and it was actually quite funny when you mentioned that today in this conversation, that they should maybe try to give it another try of that. So
And
Yeah. Sorry.
no. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. I mean, let's say my point of view was also quite different, or was changing in the you could say 10 years or so. So when you start thinking about energy or so in school, and I was always opposing or against fossil fuels, against nuclear and so on. And also with a catastrophe at Fukushima, not forgot to mention Chernobyl and so on. But on the other hand, I was doing my master's in Aachen, and Aachen is at the border to Belgium, and Belgium has, for instance, 2 nuclear power plants, which are way too old, as most of, for instance, also as the power plants in France. And they are still producing. And what I see as the biggest issue then is that in Germany we have some of the nuclear power plants are very new, still very modern, and you could say safe when you look at whether they are in earthquake regions or not.
Yeah.
So you could use them as a, let's say the risk of a problem, of a severe problem, would be much lower than power plants, for instance, in Belgium or in France.
Yeah.
So let's say personally, I was changing my own mindset in the past years on that topic. I still have my doubts on it, on the other hand, for instance, what to do with the waste. And that's the biggest issue, and we didn't solve it. So before we didn't solve that to some certain degree, we shouldn't think too big on that. But yeah, it's, let's say, I think it's quite healthy to think about that, and to think about which alternatives we have, compared to, as I mentioned before, importing the energy from other countries too much.
I don't know if I'm right or not, but the reason why Germany, again, I can be wrong. The reason why Germany is importing coal from abroad is because due to the Paris Agreement, Germany have tried to cut on some energies and try to force the renewables to improve, to increase, but actually the renewables are not feeding that position, feeding that demand. So that's why Germany needs to keep importing coal. It's something like that, because it was a brave move to cut drastically on some kind of but now they are having to import. So it's am I right or am I wrong on this vision?
The fact is true. That is definitely true.
That's a good one.
It's very interesting sometimes on German politics how that they don't think in a straight way. That you have so many opposing or contrary opinions. So after Fukushima, it was a straightforward decision to pull out of the nuclear industry. And on the other hand, yeah, the Paris Agreement helped, of course, to have a look on increasing the renewables. But the problem is itself that, yeah, the government and also the energy companies in Germany, they didn't think how to bring the energy, how to produce the energy in these amounts. So, yeah. And at the same time, they want to pull out of the coal in Germany. And let's say it's also of cleaning the statistics on that point. We must not forget to mention that the renewables, which are being in the statistics, in the energy statistics in Germany, are to a big degree from other countries. So thanks, Norway. No, but
Caetano was a tricky question, huh?
Of course.
But okay, on the other hand, the same amount of renewables are in the Norwegian statistics, and they import the energy, of course, also from Germany. So let's say these renewables, to some degree, they exist in both statistics. And that's actually the best description of don't believe any statistic which you didn't cheat by yourself. So, but yeah, to go back on the point, yes, Germany just tried to lower everything. And it has also the reason, like the energy companies are thinking of, because of, yeah, let's say, workers in Germany which produce the coal in the mines, well, they get paid too high compared to other countries, and so it's much easier to, let's say, to give the clean impression when you can kind of cheat on that.
Good indicator, this one, clean impression. So could be a metric to be used in the world.
Clean impression.
Yeah.
But you mentioned that the mine workers in Germany are kind of overpaid. So do you mean that, is that the reason why Germany imports the coal?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I mean, the government wants to show, okay, they are getting cleaner, but the energy companies don't want to improve that by building new windmills, by building new solar panels and so on. So on the other hand, yeah, to pull out of the coal industry in Germany is, yeah, for the reason that the workers, the thing is, it's a normal wage in Germany is much higher compared to other countries. And so, of course, the energy companies prefer to import it. It's a simple, it's like outsourcing what you have in the producing industry of electronics, for instance. It's the same principle, theoretically.
The reason is not storage for the future. I mean, in terms of energy, let's see, store this material, this energy. Like United States have a lot of strategic storage for oil and for things like that. It's maybe not the reason, this one, no? It's only to go to the clean, to make the impression that we are going to the clean situation.
Mostly, yes. But it's also to cut down costs. I mean, it's, let's say, two sides of a coin, and
It's market driven and impression driven.
Yes.
It sounds like a very German way to deal with the things. Yeah.
In Brazil, it's totally different. No, Larissa and Caetano. We have let's say, a poor situation, still in a development process, and we cannot make this kind of arrangement.
to you. Well, the situation, there's two different worlds. Whenever we compare the economy and amount of people, demand, it's two different scenarios, two different. So you said really well. We do not have conditions to
I think this is something adding to my previous question. This is something that we should learn, that I'm learning living here in Norway. People should talk about politics. People should talk about energy. People should discuss, as we are doing right now. You see this girl from Norway interested in what is going on in Germany. And this is something that we should learn and do in Brazil too. And I understand we are in a different situation. We are a underdevelopment country, but for us to improve, we have to improve. So if we as person, every individual tries to discuss and tries to understand and tries to make a plan or reach more people, I think this is how change happens. And this is something that we should learn in Brazil. Even though we're kind of far, this is how it begins.
Yeah,
we should discuss energy.
Exactly. The advantage that we have is that we have the possibility of choosing the one path. We can see which country did a good project or a good option, and I'm gonna follow this way. You see. So that's the secret. As Larissa is saying, like the secret is communication. The secret is to look and to aim for development and to follow the steps of countries that we can see. Oh, okay, these worked on this country, so we can do this in Brazil.
Let's copy the good experience.
Exactly.
People, thank you very much. It was a pleasure to have you here. All of you here with me today in this conversation. I suppose it's a very good experience for people that are, let's see, listening us. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day. Thank you.